The number of trips that the Leyte took was a little bit out of whack. As soon as we would come in, the max time we had would be a week and a half, 2 weeks before we would be delegated to move someplace. As soon as we got up from that trip, which we finished off with Trinidad and got up they had then transferred our ship over to Quatro Point. A week later, we were on our way to the Mediterranean because at that time things were a little bit touchy with the Russians, and so we were pretty much on alert all the time. We covered, in the 3 trips that we did to the Mediterranean, all the main ports. We also, in the primary of one of that, was Istanbul, Turkey. We were the first U.S. personnel to go into Istanbul, because again, they were neutral during World War II. We anchored out, but prior to getting there, we're going to be a little touchy on this area. The admiral has charge of the ships, the fleet. Captain has charge of his ship. The admiral ordered all aircraft to be posted on the flight deck, fully armed and fully fueled, because the Russians had threatened to attack us if we went into the Dardanelles, because Istanbul sits on a Black Sea. Our captain explained to him that the Dardanelles were too narrow for us to be able to swing around to gain enough speed so that we could launch aircraft. The admiral's reply was, you won't mention his name, God Almighty, we're going to be destroyed and we'll all die. And what glory we'll be having. We will be in the books. And if you're a private sitting there and listening to that, it does not give you a good feeling. We got into Istanbul, no problem out of the Russians. The second day, we were tasked to lay a wreath at their monument for soldiers. We did that in full blues. That was the first American personnel that would military to step out on that ground. The Turk detachment were all taller than we 6'4" Marines. They were big. And their military was, you're selected, you're in the Army, you're in there for 6 years, never mind going home or anything. After 6 years, you can go home. That kind of life. So you can imagine the mentality or the feeling in those people. We laid the wreath. It was a tremendous sight, the way it was done, the relationship to the Turks. The Turkish band played the American national anthem. The next day we had the Turks threw us a huge reception. And the Turkish band started out playing Turkish music, and the Turks would dance to that, and the Americans would play the American music, and some sailors would get up there, and some women, which they came out of nowhere, would dance with them. And pretty soon, after a few drinks, we hear Harry James playing, and that's coming out of the Turkish band, who copied all the music. And the Turks came over and started dancing to the American music, and the Americans got over there and were dancing to the Turks' music. So you can see what a tremendous relationship that built right off the bat. The Turks were very, very anti-Russian. Didn't trust them at all. It took, let's see, the Navy decided to bring the Turkish sailors aboard from their battle wagon, which was a World War I type, and had them come aboard our ship. Some of the jarheads, which is a Marine expression, some of the jarheads said, well, we're going to go back to the ship, and the OD says, we're loaded with Turkish personnel on our ship, and they don't want to leave, and our guys don't want them to leave. So we get out there, and sure as hell, that's what it is. And the other problem was, American sailors were getting on the launches and going over to the Turkish ship. So in the morning, there was one huge hell of a mess because the cooks had to turn around and prepare food, not only for our personnel, but for the Turks that were there. And it literally took till about 3 o'clock that day to get them all off the ship and over to there. We went up to Izmir, down to Izmir, and that was a ceremonial thing that they do yearly in there, and again, you had that very positive reception. You literally were the introduction to many countries of what Americans were. It was a problem because we had to behave ourselves. And that's difficult when you're out to sea for 3 months and you want to go in and have something like milk to drink, which you couldn't drink. But we did it in Egypt, we did it in Algiers, we did it in the various mountain or countries. And it gave you awakening as an individual if you opened up your eyes, how damn lucky you were that you were an American. Because the poverty was absolute.